Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Bloxel with Matthew Boeser, not to be confused with Matt Barzell. Today, we continue our countdown of our top 10 lists, and today we are focused on right wingers. If you missed our previous episodes of our top 10 centers or top 10 left wingers, make sure you go back. We've got them posted on Facebook as well as YouTube. Remember to like and share. Comment, let us know what you think your top 10 are, and let us know what you like about ours or what you hate about ours. And remember to subscribe and like our pages. So today, Matt, welcome. Right wingers. This was really freaking tough again, just like the left wingers. There's lots of people that I left off my list that I wish I could put on the list. But this was very tough, and I don't know how close we're going to be to having the same top 10 centers. We seem to have pretty good consistency, but I have a feeling today we're going to be all over the map.
Yeah. Today, especially the bottom number 9 and 10. I think we're the toughest, just because there are so many guys on that right wing that are vying to get into that top 10 spot. But yeah, I think number 10 was the toughest though for me. But I think I'm pretty happy with my list.
Yeah, I'm sort of happy with mine. Why don't we? Whose turn is it to go first? Is it my turn to go first today?
No,
I think it's your turn to go first.
Yeah, it's my turn to go first.
Start us off, 10 through 8.
All right, number 10 from the Colorado Avalanche, Mikko Rantanen. This guy had one of the best breakout seasons this past year. He had 20 goals and 38 points the year previous, and he exploded for 29 goals and 84 points in 81 games. Being on that top line with Nathan MacKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog, as we've talked about the past couple days. You bringing up Landeskog in your top 10 left wingers, and MacKinnon we both had as number 3 for top centers in the league. I think Rantanen's a very underrated player. I was happy with my fantasy pick for my fantasy team this past year. That I took a late pick on him, and he rewarded me very, very well this year. Very underrated playmaker on that top power play unit. In the playoffs, he had like another 4 points in 6 games. And I think this guy will just keep getting even better, only being 21 years old. Number 9, I got the shirt, the flow, Brock Boeser. I just had to put him on the list. I think the guy's shot is unbelievable. Being a Canucks fan, just how he's able to pick just the little corners with his shot. 29 goals in 62 games. I know some people might think just because he's only played 71 games in his career that it's a little bit too early to put him on a top 10 list, but I think just the way he plays the game, and even when guys like Horvat went down to injury, he was able to stay with his production until he had the freak back injury. And my number 8 from the Philadelphia Flyers, Jakub Voracek. He had 85 points in 82 games, 65 assists. I think this guy's been one of the most consistent playmakers on the wing. I think Giroux and Voracek were split up actually for most of the year during 5-on-5. So he played a lot with Nolan Patrick, and it looks like he might be playing with JVR this year. So and I like that he's a little bit feisty. Being with Philly, you expect that from a lot of their players. In the playoffs, you only had 3 points in 6 games, no goals. So you're hoping that he can produce in the playoffs if they do get back this year. So that brings him just a little bit down, just because playoff production he hasn't been as good. But during the regular season, he's been basically a point a game player.
Well, I'm not going to disagree, only because this was really tough to do. And we were all over the map, I think, on this one. But my number 10 Had to fit him in somewhere because of his playmaking skills, but none other than Toronto Maple Leaf right winger Mitch Marner. 69 points last year, lots of assists. I mean, how can he not be on a top 10 list? Because I think he's going to have another big season this year, playing with either Tavares or Matthews or both on the power play. Mitch Marner is my number 10. My number 9 was also the guy on your shirt, Brock Boeser. I wasn't sure if I was going to even put him on my top 10 list, but when we look over the criteria for this, who would you draft? Who would you rather have on your team? The reason I went with him was he was on pace for over 70 points last year, and there was a huge group of right wingers that all had 82 games and they were in the 60s for points. And to me, if Boeser was able to play for the whole year, he would have been, top 5, top 6 in scoring for right wingers. And, the guy can snipe like we haven't seen in a long time. I still can't believe he's got a Canucks uniform on. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in a full season. But he's my number 9. And with what other players are saying from around the league, this guy could be a top 5 right winger on our list next year because of his lethality. So my number 8 is your number 10, Mikko Rantanen out of Colorado. 84 points last year on, like I said, one of the best lines in hockey, Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen. This guy absolutely shined last year and was more than a point a game. So how can you go wrong with a guy like that, right? I guess I'll keep it going, and this is where we might defer a little bit because I did think you had Vorachek a little high on your list. He's a little bit lower on mine. But my number 7 is Boston Bruin right winger David Pastrnak. Still pretty young. 80 points last year. Can definitely snipe. Again, on my favorite line in hockey, Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, and David Pastrnak. He's my number 7, and I hated putting him that high only because there's some players ahead of him that I absolutely hate, including this, number 6, Phil the Thrill Kessel, with 92 points last year. I didn't even want to put him on my top 10 list. In fact, sometimes in Pittsburgh, he's the third line right winger, but that's only because they spread their scoring out. And then when he plays on the power play with Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and of course Hornquist, Kessel is absolutely dynamite. He's one of the best power play specialists in the game. And he could score coming off the rush, coming down the wing. Very good at snapping that puck into the far corner. That's the reason he's there. As much as I hated putting him on my list or even having him on my list, Phil the Thrill Kessel, number 6, Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 5, Jakub Voracek, Philadelphia Flyers. This guy, like you said, he's a power forward. He bangs and crashes a lot more than you would think. And when you watch Philadelphia, I mean, he's a pretty physical player. He's, again, really good at ragging the puck, plays with some good players. But Voracek was getting it done even before he was on Philadelphia. And he's consistently putting up over a point a game every single season. So I can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with him. My number 5.
Yeah, so Mitch Marner, I just had to leave him off the list. He was my number 12. So probably next year because the second half of the season in the playoffs, he was really fun to watch. And one of the few Maple Leaf guys that I'll actually cheer for when they're playing.
Blasphemy! You can't cheer for any Maple Leaf.
I don't.
I'm just kidding. For all you Leaf fans out there, we really do like the Leafs.
I like certain players, but I'll never cheer for the Leafs, no matter what. But yeah, so my number 7, Winnipeg Jets right winger, Blake Wheeler. Great season last year, 91 points in 81 games. 68 of those were assists, and in the playoffs, he had 18 assists and 21 points in 17 games. This guy really came into his own as the leader of the Jets. Between him and Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, they formed that great top line. And I love just how big he is, how he's able to get around guys and set guys up. And just like with most Winnipeg Jets, basically all those guys are big and built to go through guys. But yeah, just a great player. My number 6, Phil Kessel. Had a career year, 92 points in 82 games, and he battled through some injuries throughout the season, though he didn't miss a game. So that's why in the playoffs he only had 1 goal and 9 points in 12 games. The years previous, he'd had amazing playoff run with when they won the first Stanley Cup with that big line with Bonino and I'm trying to remember, and Hagelin, I believe.
Yeah.
The HBK line. There we go. And as much as people make fun of Phil Kessel, I think he's got a really underrated shot that people don't talk about as much as they should. And he's consistently healthy. This guy doesn't miss games. He usually plays through the injuries. It takes a lot to knock this guy out of the lineup. And my number 5, Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues. I wanted to get this guy just a little bit higher, but I had to leave him down at 5. 33 goals, 66 points last year. This guy is consistently putting up 30 to 40 goals and 30 to 40 assists a year. I still think he has the potential to get to 50 goals in a season, possibly. But this guy, the dangles that this guy has is absolutely amazing. And it was a huge loss for the Blues when they were really trying to get into the playoffs at the end of the year. He missed the last 2 games with a separated shoulder, and they just missed out on that final wild card spot. And only 26 years old, too. So, 350 points in 421 career games. Just really fun to watch. And in the playoffs, when they do get in there, he has 22 goals in 44 games in the playoffs. So this guy shows up when they need him to.
Tarasenko, for me, I wanted to get him on my list, but unfortunately, he is one of my notable mentions. As much as I love the guy, don't get me wrong, I told you this was really tough. I wanted to put him on the list, but who am I going to keep off? I mean, I could have kept off Marner maybe to get him on, or David Pastrnak, but I'm guessing Pastrnak might not even be in your top 10 there. But my number 4 is the guy with the big shot on the Winnipeg Jets, Patrick Laine, absolute beast, and can put the puck in the net. 44 goals last year, 70 points. But he is only the second-line right winger on that team. And for my number 3 is the heart and soul of the Winnipeg Jets, Blake Wheeler. You already talked about how his point production in the playoffs, 91 points during the regular season. This guy, if he gets cut in the face, he bleeds blue because he is the heart and soul of the Winnipeg Jets. And, the wear and tear that this guy puts on his body, because you see him blocking shots, you see him, just absolutely running guys when he needs to. Like, he is, he plays playoff hockey through the regular season and leads by example with that Winnipeg Jets team. That's why he's my number 3.
All right, yeah. So my number 4 is also Patrick Laine. I'm just glad he finally shaved that goat beard that he had. That was one ugly beard. But in 2 seasons, he already has 80 career goals in 155 games. 44 last year, 70 points in the full season, and then 5 goals and 12 points in 17 playoff games. This guy's shot is unbelievable. You talk about Alex Ovechkin and being in that spot on the power play. He's probably the second best goal scorer in the league. Just amazing to watch. And my number 3 is Patrick Kane of the Chicago Blackhawks. He just fell out of my top 2 just because he had a little bit of a down year last year. 76 points in 82 games. This guy is an unbelievable stick handler. The patience that this guy has is just unbelievable, especially like even if you watch some of the shootout goals that he has, where you can just come down and stop up and then just come down slowly and do and give one head fake and then it's in the back of the net. Is crazy to watch. But yeah, just crazy. 3 Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's won Conn Smythe. He's won the Hart Trophy. He's won the Ted Lindsay. This guy is very, very accomplished, but I think now he's sort of going into his back half of his career, 29 years old, and I'm not sure with the Blackhawks how they will be in the next few years. Hopefully he can have a bounce back year and get it back up to that 90 to 100 point range. But yeah, he just fell out of my top 2.
All right, well, that brings us to the top 2 moment. Why don't you count us down through your top 2?
All right, so my number 2, I'm a huge fan of this guy, is David Pastrnak. Yeah, I was gonna say something about him just being just a little bit low there, but yeah, 35 goals and 80 points in 82 games, and 20 points in 12 playoff games. This guy, offensively, I think the ceiling for this guy is really high. I think he could get to 100 points next year and push to that 40-50 goal range. And playing with guys like Bergeron and Marchand, really let him go free on the ice to really dangle guys and put that puck in the net.
He really is the unsung hero on that line, because everybody talks about Marchand and Bergeron all the time, and he just silently puts up points all the time. So.
Mm-hmm. And they got him on a nice good deal when he was young. I think he's just on like a 6-year deal at only like $6 million or something like that. So if Boston had only given him like a 1 or 2 year deal on a bridge deal, that would be coming back to kick them in the butt. But right now he's at a nice good deal as well. But yeah, he's one of my favorite guys to watch, especially with the Bruins. It's really tough to cheer for any of those guys, but Pastrnak is one of those guys that I love to watch. And I think our number 1 will both be the same. Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning, 39 goals, 100 points in 80 games, and 7 goals and 17 points in 17 playoff games. This guy is a superstar. He really broke out last year, and I think this guy has the potential to get to 50 goals or be a 50-50 guy every year for the next few years. And right now, Tampa Bay has him on a great deal. He's only making just a little bit over $4 million a year until, of course, next year that new contract comes in and he's up to like 9.5 or something like that. But on one of the best deals in the NHL right now. But yeah, and also in the playoffs, this guy is super clutch. 29 goals, 59 points in 62 career games in the playoffs. Just consistently when they need that big play, he can put that puck in the net. And he's also, I think, the left-handed shot on that off wing. I think he's like the Ovechkin on that right-hand side on the power play. His shot is just unbelievable.
Yeah, so for me, my number 2 is the Chicago Blackhawk, Patrick Kane. Unbelievable hands, quickest hands in the NHL. And I really believe that it was tough. I thought he would be my number 1, but he has definitely fallen the last few years. But losing guys like, Panarin and Syed and some of the guys that he's played with as line mates over the last few years. I mean, Hossa and all these guys, it's no wonder his scoring production goes down a little bit. And Chicago is starting to get a little bit longer in the tooth. But my number 1, we had the same number 1s. I'm happy to say that, and that's good news. Was Nikita Kucherov, like you said, 100 points last year, and really has become more of a clutch guy for Tampa Bay. He's putting more pucks in the net. It takes a lot of pressure off of Stamkos, and it also makes teams have to focus on, because they've been focusing on Stamkos a little bit more. It frees up Kucherov, and he's just a really nice player to watch. So why don't we get you to touch on some of your notables, and then I'll touch on some of mine, and we'll end the show at that.
All right. Yeah. So the 5 guys I had as my honorable mentions. Number 11 I had is Mark Stone of the Ottawa Senators. I think this is a really underrated guy. He had 20 goals, 62 points in only 58 games last year. So he would have been pushing to that 80, 90 point range. And for Ottawa, outside of Erik Karlsson, they don't really have a guy that can put up a point a game player. And he's still tied with Erik Karlsson for the team lead in points while only playing 58 games. And also in the playoffs the year previous, I thought he had a really good run there. Number 12, Mitch Marner. I think next year when we do this list, this guy will probably most likely will be on my top 10 list. This guy is dynamic. He frees up guys to put the puck in the net. He just sucks everybody to him. And then just finds that open guy. Number 13, Victor Arvidsson of the Nashville Predators. Right now he's consistently around the 30-goal, 60-point mark. That's why I couldn't get him into the top 10. But this guy is also, I think, a very underrated winger. Number 14 I had is Joe Pavelski, the San Jose Sharks. The chemistry that he has with Joe Thornton, and most likely playing with Evander Kane this year on the top line. And the thing is with him, he's getting up there in age. He's 34 years old already. So that's why he dropped off that list. But I still think this guy's hand-eye coordination is one of the best in the league. And my last one, another rookie this year, Clayton Keller, the Arizona Coyotes. 23 goals, 65 points in 82 games this past year. Especially in the first half of the year, this guy was on fire. And I think in the second half he dropped off just a little bit. But I think hopefully he can avoid the sophomore slump this coming year, because I think this guy can put up around 80 points or be a point-a-game player this coming year.
Well, with Galchenyuk there, it's very possible. But my honorable mentions, of course, Tarasenko didn't make my top 10. But I love the guy. He's absolute beast. Has a ton of leg strength and core strength from what everybody says. And he's one of my honorable mentions, as well as I'm going to touch on. So just you already mentioned a few of these guys. So Mark Stone was on my list. Joe Pavelski was on my list, as well as 2 that weren't on yours was Alexander Radulov from the Dallas Stars, getting 72 points last year, bringing a ton of energy to the Dallas Stars lineup. Wasn't in the NHL for a few years, came back and looked like he hadn't missed a beat, and was actually better than what I remembered him being. He brings some, he helps round out that top line in Dallas with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. And then finally, New York Islander Josh Bailey rounds out my other notable. 71 points last year, missed 6 games due to injury. Obviously played with Tavares and Anders Lee. Will continue to probably play with Anders Lee because the 2 of them have a lot of chemistry. Bailey is definitely a playmaker. So it'd be good, and Lee being the goal scorer. So it'd be interesting to see if they do play with Barzal or if they do play with Brock Nelson on that line, just because Barzal and Eberle had so much chemistry last year. It'll be interesting to see what the Islanders do. And their new head coach, Barry Trotz. So that's our top 10 list for right wingers. Remember, let us know who your top 10 are by leaving them in the comments below. Remember to like and share our posts and subscribe on YouTube. And once again, this has been B&B Hockey Talk. Tomorrow we bring you the top 10 defensemen. And, man, we were looking ahead at this already. And there's going to be some really good defensemen, unfortunately, that will miss that list. It's going to be another difficult task, and I'm sure it's from point of view or opinion. So really looking forward to that. I'm Aaron Bloxel with Matthew Boeser. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys all tomorrow.